Hey everyone, this is Jessica Brigden of Jess B, Creative Cardiology, and today I have a fun 4-panel technique card to share with you. So to get started, you're going to need 3 sheets of cardstock. You'll need your base color, so in this case I'm using Rococo Rose. You'll need a contrasting color, I'm using Night of Navy, and then you'll also need some basic white for your stamped panels. And then in addition to that, you will need 3 colors, or 3 patterns of designer series paper. So I'm using Stampin' Up's Paper Blooms, that is part of the A Bration designer series papers, and you need 3 patterns of this as well. Okay, so for today's project, we are using the Paper Blooms A Bration paper. We're also using the Heal Your Heart A Bration stamp set, and then the Pretty Perennials stamp set and die bundle here. So what's awesome about A Bration, there's just a few days left, but with that, for every $50 in product that you order, then you can choose a free item, like the Paper Blooms Designer Series paper or the Heal Your Heart stamp set. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. You'll need your paper trimmer here. And we're going to start by cutting our Rococo Rose card base. Okay, so let me show you the measurements that you'll need first. You need 1 full sheet of the Rococo Rose, and we are going to cut that in half to 5.5 by 8.5, and then we're going to cut that second piece to 5 by 6.25. So let me just tuck those up here for you. Make sure they're on the screen so you can see them. Okay, so we have our Rococo Rose. It's already 8.5 inches long, so we're going to cut a 5.5 inch piece here. Okay, and then this second piece we are cutting to 5 inches. So trim a little bit off the bottom here. And then we're going to turn and cut it at 6.25, which is just right up there at the edge of the trimmer. Okay, so now let's take these and score them. We're gonna start with our largest piece first. So along the 8.5 inch line, so we'll extend our trimmer here so that we can have full measurements. So you are going to score this at 3/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna do that right over here. So we're gonna do it 3/4. Okay, that's just easiest right over there. You could start from this end and go in and do it like this. Sometimes it's just harder to hold your paper that way. So 3/4, and then slide it over again to 4.25. Okay, now we're going to rotate it 90 degrees, and we are going to move it up to this 1/2 inch mark, and we are going to cut it at that 1/2 inch right up to the 4.25 inch score mark. Okay, so right up to the 4.25. You can see that here on our Stampin' trimmer. Okay, and then you could turn that and cut that, or just grab your little paper snips here and snip that little 1/2 inch piece. Okay, so that is first part of your base. For the second part here, on the, again, the long side, the 6.25 inch side, we are going to score this at 2 3/4. And then we're going to turn this 90 degrees, line it up at the 3/4 inch mark, and we are going to cut this up to the 2 3/4 inch score line. So go ahead and check on your trimmer. You can see right there at the 2 3/4 inch line. And then again, you can turn it to cut it, or just grab your snips and cut right there in that little fold right up to the point. Okay, perfect. So this is our base. All right, so the next part here, let me show you how this starts to take shape. So as it's 4 panels, it extends, so it grows progressively, kind of like steps here. So you're going to line these up from smallest to largest, and this 3/4 inch part here in the middle, that's where our adhesive is going to go. So you could use your Stampin' Seal, your Seal Plus, or even your tear and tape, but we're just gonna put some adhesive right there on that mark, and then line these up at the score line. All right, and then go ahead and just burnish that to make sure the adhesive holds well. Okay, so this is your card base. It doesn't look like much to start, but but it's all there. All right, so the next part we're going to need is our Night of Navy for our layering. So we're going to need several pieces. We need one that's 4 by 5 1/4, 2 pieces that are each 3 1/4 by 4.75, and then we'll also need 2 pieces that are 2 1/2 by 4. You might think, why 2? Well, when you fold this over, you do actually need a piece for the front side there, okay? And then for a little decoration on the front here, you also need this piece that is 3/4 inches by 4, a little bit of left over there. Okay, so let me show you how to cut this, how to line this up to maximize your cardstock here. So you've got to start with a sheet that is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. So you are going to start with your 4-inch pieces first. So we're going to cut a strip that is 4 inches, excuse me, this way. So you can see how these will all come out of here. And then we need the other pieces that will line up just like this. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do, let's grab our trimmer. Okay, so let's start with our 4-inch strip here. Go ahead and cut that to 4 inches. All right, and now we're going to turn it. We need, for our first mat, the 5 1/4. Okay, and then we need the 2 1/2 by 4-inch pieces. So slide this over to the 5-inch mark here. That's where you get your little 3/4 by 4 piece. That's the bonus. And then slide this down to 2 1/2. Okay, so you've got 4 of your pieces cut already. So the next, what we have left are these 3 1/2, 3 1/4 by 4 3/4 pieces. So we don't have 4 3/4 left. So we're gonna mark this at 3 1/4. Okay, go ahead and trim that down to 3 1/4, and then turn it and cut it at the 9 1/2 inch mark, because that will give us 2 4 3/4 inch pieces. So cut that there at 9 1/2, and then we move it down to 4 3/4. Okay, that gives us our remaining 2 pieces, and all that you have left over are just these little pieces, which you can actually use for your die cut accents on here. So don't put them too far away. Okay, last but not least, we need our basic white. All right, make sure we've got everything here. So if you're using Designer Series paper, then really you just need your 2 pieces of basic white. You need a piece that is the 2 1/4 by 3.75, and you need the piece that is 3 by 4 1/2. All right, so let's go ahead and start this. We will cut this on the long side, on the 11-inch side. We're gonna cut this down to 4 1/2. We don't wanna waste paper unnecessarily. All right, so now rotate that 90 degrees. We're gonna trim off a 3-inch piece, okay? And then we are going to slide this to 2 1/4, and then turn that again, rotate that 90 degrees, and trim it at 3.75. All right, so that gives you your basic white pieces, and then you've got these left over for your stamping, for your the rest of your die cuts here, whatever you want to use those for, or another project. Okay, so as far as your designer series paper, again, you need 3 different patterns. You need one that is 3 3/4 by 5. You need one that is 3 by 4 1/2. And then the third is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. And what I love about Stampin' Up's designer series papers is that all of their patterns in a pack match wonderfully, and you can mix and match those as needed. All right, so that's it for our cutting and scoring. Now comes the fun part where we get to assemble part of these. So go ahead and grab your mat here that we've already put together. So what you're going to do, this is your base, essentially the inside of your card, but when it's folded, it does stick out a little bit here. So let's go ahead and start assembling. You need your biggest Night of Navy mat. So we're gonna go ahead and apply our adhesive, stick this down. Okay, and that piece, that was the 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, and then we're going to take our designer series paper, however you want this to go on here, whichever pattern you like. Again, this is 3 3/4 by 5. So I'm going to stick this down. Now, if you wanted to do all stamping and have room for more writing and messages, then instead of the designer series paper, you could just cut more basic white panels. But I really like the patterns and the pops of color that the designer series paper gives it. So that is primarily what I'm using here. Okay, so the next mat here, we're gonna just go ahead and stick our Night of Navy mats down on each spot. This one, I'm not going to adhere the basic white yet because I wanna do my stamping first. Okay, so we're gonna jump to the next one here. And again, these are 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. All right, so adhere both of these. All right, this one we're using designer series paper. This is the 3 by 4 1/2. So again, whichever pattern you like. And we'll adhere this. Oops. There we go. Okay. And then got a little extra adhesive there. Smallest panel, adhering our Night of Navy. This is the 2 1/2 by 4 inch piece. So we've got one of these for the front and the back here. Oops. again, I'm gonna wait on these to stamp them first. So just fold this in and we'll adhere our other Night of Navy panel to this. Okay, so with it all laid out here, you can start to see it take shape. So holding your base, you are going to lift up in the middle, bring that over towards the left, and fold that. Then your flap here, that too folds over. We have our last piece of designer series paper that is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So we'll go ahead and adhere this to the very front. Okay, so you have the basic framework for your 1, 2, 3, your 4-panel card here. And now we get to do the decorating. This is the fun part. All right, so go ahead and grab your pieces of basic white cardstock. And this is where our Pretty Perennials bundle comes in. So I'm using the large, kind of this watercolor flower, as well as the tiny little one here. And then our greetings are coming from the Heal Your Heart set. I'm using the Thank You. I don't know what I'd do without you. All right, so got our stamps here first. So let's go ahead and stamp our greetings first, and then we can put the flowers all around it. And that way we make sure we still have room for our greetings. So I'm gonna ink up the thank you first. And this is going to go on the center of my smallest basic white panel here. That's the piece, it's 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. And then the rest of my greeting here is going on the panel that is 3 by 4 1/2. And I'm gonna put this about in the center here. Okay, beautiful. All right, so that's it for the Night of Navy. The next color we need then is our Rococo Rose. This is for our larger flowers. All right, so we're gonna ink this up. On the first one, I am gonna stamp this off the edge just a little bit there, and then do opposite corners on the bigger piece. Okay. All right, that's it for the inside panels here. Don't put that too far away. You will need one for the front. All right, next is the Petal Pink. This is for the smaller flowers. So again, however you want to stamp these, I like to just kind of place them randomly around on our panels. Space them out just a little bit so that you've got room for your leaves. And again, don't put these too far because you'll need some for some extra little decorations. Now our small leaves, this is a 2-step, so we're going to stamp the solid image first, and then we'll go over that with the detailed image. Okay, so these are the little bitty leaves here. I like to leave these attached to my paper until I use them so I don't lose any. And then you can randomly put these wherever you'd like them by your little flowers. The great thing about photopolymer is that you can get really close and see where you're stamping. Okay, so that was the solid image. Now using that same ink color, we're going to use the detailed image and go right over that. Okay, so re-ink that and then right directly over, and that adds a little pop of detail. Isn't that awesome? Okay, just flip these. Such a pretty stamp set. There's so many different patterns you can make, but here I'm essentially imitating the Paper Blooms Designer Series paper patterns there. Okay, so that's the little flowers. That's it for our soft seafoam ink pad. And our last color that we're going to need, of course, there'll be a full supply list here in the comments section here of this video. And then there will be full step-by-step instructions written out on my blog at www.jessbcreativecardiology.com. Okay, so now we're gonna come in with our bigger leaves, again doing the solid and then the detail. All right, so we've got the solid image here and our old olive. And just add these in wherever they kind of fit a little bit. Let's see. Kind of tuck them in there. And so this is gonna stamp off the paper just a little bit. There we go. I like that down there at the end. Okay. And then swap this out. We need the detailed stamp. And we're gonna go right over that. Okay, make sure we've got our detailing going the same direction. Check out that. I love that. Just the same color makes, by going over that with that second stamp, makes such a difference. Okay. All right, aren't those gorgeous? Love those, and that's all you'll need for the old olive as well. Okay, so now that we've got these beautiful stamped panels, we can go ahead and adhere these to our card base. So I'm just using the stamp and seal here. Tuck that right inside. Now, of course, you could leave this blank and write your message on that as well. That would be totally fine. That's a lovely thing. When you make it your card, you can make adjustments and make it, tailor it to your needs. Okay. So this is all beautiful, all good. Now we get to decorate the front panel. So what I've done on here, because this does like to pop open a little bit, and to put a little weight on it, is do some die cut flowers with a little bit of ribbon and things to add towards the front. All right, so grab those pieces, that leftover piece of the basic white that you had. We are going to pull in that larger flower stamp with our Rococo Rose ink pad again. So we need one of these. Okay. Then we need two of the little petal pink flowers. So you can stamp them right here on the same page. Give it a little bit of space so that you've got room for your die cuts there. All right, so we are going to run these through our little cut and emboss machine here. These will actually fit in the mini. So you need panel 1, 2. We'll put on our paper. You do want to stagger them just a little bit. Okay, so don't line everything up perfectly as you would with one of the bigger machines. All right, so now we need the bigger die cut, and you can see by the curve of the petals where it fits here. can adjust that a little bit. You can hold them in place with some washi tape if you want. And then you actually get in this bundle, you get 2 of these smaller petals. So again, line up the shape of the petals. Let's see how I did here. If we space them correctly, then we can actually die cut all 3 flowers at the same time. Oops, try not to move it too much here. All right, just put this straight on, hold it secure, and then give it a crank. Once it's caught, hang on to it with your left hand, snap, crackle, pop. Okay. And then they pull out here. You've got 3 beautiful flowers. All right, and then what we need just a couple little accents. So we do need a little piece or scrap of some Rococo rose, as well as of some of that navy. So we had a piece left over from when we cut our card bases. So go ahead and use this. I'll just show you how I'm lining it up here with our detailed piece. Oops, come here. And if we slide that over, we also had a little piece of the Night of Navy when we cut our bases from that. And I'm gonna use this little flower center burst and put it right over there on the left. So the cardstock is overlapping, but the dies are still only on 1 layer. Okay, so go ahead and sandwich that together. Hold it tight. Get it fed into your machine. Once it's caught, then go ahead and hang on. Oops, there we go. Make sure you've got an even surface underneath. Crank it through. And then we've got these fun little detailed pieces. This should pop right out here. If you need a little help, they do have little holes, and you can put your little paper piercer or tip of your scissors there. Okay, so that's it for our die cutting. Let's set these over here so I don't lose them. All right, and we will finish decorating the front. So you could go ahead and use use one of your blocks. Just use something to kind of hold that in place for now. All right, so for the first flower, we are going to put on our detailed layer. We'll adhere that with a glue dot. So just putting that right there in the center. All right, turn your petals until you find the matching shapes there. Another glue dot on the back of this Night of Navy piece. And you can line this up any way you want. That just goes right there in the center. And then for these 2 little pieces, all we need for these now are some dimensionals. So I'm gonna put a full dimensional in the back of each of the little flowers. And then on the large flower here, I'm gonna take the 2, the furthest distance, the petals here, and put a dimensional between each one of those. Okay, so that's gonna be our flowers. We're gonna set that aside. Now we had this leftover piece of Night of Navy. It was 3/4 by 4. So we're going to flag the ends of that with our 6-in-1 banner punch here. So I'm gonna slide this right in all the way till it doesn't go any further. You can flip it over and make sure you're lined up correctly. All right, go ahead and snip that. And then pull that out. We're gonna do the other end. So slide that in there again till it doesn't go any further. Make sure it's lined up right there at the end. Pop. Alrighty. And then we also need just a little bit of ribbon. So this is the Rococo Rose gathered ribbon. It's a 2-tone I love that. It's got kind of that gold shimmer to it. So I'm just gonna line this up over top. So again, you need about 3.5 inches or so. And I'm just gonna flag that. Okay, so to get the ribbon to stay, I'm gonna just put a little bit of adhesive right here on my Night of Navy banner. And I'm gonna put this ribbon right across the center. Okay, and then rather than put my dimensional on my little banner, because you want to make sure that your card does open, so find the center point here on the front flap and go ahead and put your dimensional right directly on your card base. Okay, so we'll peel that up. We'll put our banner on here. Again, it's going to center right on there. Just kind of make sure it centers across the front of the card. Okay, now we'll remove the dimensionals from our larger flower. Again, make sure your dimensionals stay on this front panel so that your card does open. Okay, so we've made that good. Our dimensionals are in there. And then the other little ones, we'll just kind of pop around for fun accent. Now the second little one, get that dimensional backing off there. I am going to put here on this second panel. All right, so space these out evenly and then tack that right on there. And then yes, it's still open, so you want to make sure you've got that in the right place. Now the finishing touch here, I just need some pearls. Thought those would be pretty in the center, so I'm using the largest of the pearls because they do come in, you get multiple sizes in a pack, so I'm just going to use the largest for that, and then the medium size here. Oops, the adhesive is on these, so make sure you pull that up when you go ahead and grab that. Okay, so middle one for each of the little flowers here. All right, and there you have your fun 4-panel card. Isn't that awesome? I thought that was such a fun fold, and it showcases our designer series papers so pretty, especially when you love multiple patterns, and you you don't want to hide them. In this case, let them steal the spotlight. They'll be the the main attraction here on this fun card. So I hope you'll give this a try. I'd love to see what you come up with. Again, we used the Stampin' Up! Paper Blooms Designer Series paper, the Heal Your Heart stamp set for our sentiments, and then the Pretty Perennials bundle for our stamped images and die cuts. So thank you so much. Please make sure you leave me your comments. Be sure to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and then hit that notification bell as well so that you get notification of each of my new videos. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.